This is the Brilliantly Branded podcast, a safe place to have a voice and talk about branding and all the reasons that bring a brand to be brilliantly branded. I am your host, Maria Lucia Romero, a woman empowering other women, and I am welcoming you to this journey of learning and inspiration to build awareness around the world of business and the world of brands. This is the Brilliantly Branded podcast. This episode has value content related with the world of modern dating and genuine connections. Our guest today gave us a unique approach to matchmaking goes beyond the digital landscape and offering refreshing perspective for those seeking meaningful connections outside the box of traditional online dating. She is the insightful founder of Luxdates, Claudia Neumaster. Her kindness and expertise are wide, and she guides us through the experiences of matchmaking today. We had a conversation about the reasons why individuals look for her help when feeling lost in the dating process, and even using a term to express their frustration, saying they are part of the meat market, as Claudia described in our conversation. So please make yourself comfortable to listen to this episode and learn the challenges of aligning the diverse expectations of men and women. This episode is not just about to know tools for finding a partner, but about understanding the essence of genuine connections and the empowerment that's come with it. So welcome one more time to the Brilliantly Branded podcast. So welcome one more time to the Brilliantly Branded podcast, where you know that here we invite all those people that is really making changes in the world. And as well, here you know that in this podcast you can learn, connect, and across different topics. We are not just talking about one specifically topic, but actually related mostly with branding, women empowerment, and all these tools that really make us grow, learn in some way. So we have this power to take all the things that you have learned and convert it in something that is useful for our lives. And actually, that's the meaning of the Brilliantly Branded podcast, and as well the Brilliantly Branded community. The Brilliantly Branded community now you can join on LinkedIn. We have been creating a group of LinkedIn where you can have the tools to really feeling yourselves empowered. So the most important thing is I invite you to go to the group and be part of that and add value in the way that you consider you are adding value. So today we have the pleasure of hosting the founder of Luxdate. That is a platform dedicated to navigating all these complexities now on the modern dating, while she is emphasizing the significances of stable relationships and empowering individuals. So she is as well related with empowerment in their personal and professional aspirations. So the first step, Claudia, I will invite you to introduce yourself, please, and tell us about how you end up being the creator of Luxdate.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Maria. So, my name is Claudia Neumeister. I founded Luxdates, which is an introduction company for singles, about 6.5 years ago. My background is human resources. I have had a career in international human resources for more than 20 years. I lived in different countries. Speak different languages. My academic background is in psychology, and the reason why I started this was really I had come to a professional crisis where I felt that the work I'm doing is not really having the impact that I would like to have. And I worked with a career coach at that time and really looked at what has given me a sense of achievement in the past. And what has given me a sense of achievement in the past was actually how I connected my friends. So I have been a matchmaker for my friends and have created successful marriages. They now have children, no grandchildren yet, but so really, really stable relationships. So that has given me a sense of achievement. And I drew inspiration from my own journey, from my own personal journey. I used to be single for a while. I really found it difficult to meet somebody in my late 30s and also early 40s. I had a lot of wrong ideas about what a relationship should be like, what a man should be like. And at that time, singles coaching didn't really exist, or didn't really exist where I lived. So I kind of coached myself. And when I had broken through the barrier, then suddenly really things started to happen. And then I met the man who became my husband, and that's also a story in itself. So that is what inspired me. And I married quite late in life. I married when I was 48. And I also wanted to inspire people and give them hope. Also at that time, when I was working in Luxembourg, I was working for a large company, and we brought in a lot of people from different countries, and everybody said, "Oh, it's so difficult to meet somebody here." And what I could see was that there are different circles. And the circle, so you have the people, let's say, working for Amazon, then you have the people working for the EU institution and banking, and they don't really mingle. And I observed that, and I thought I can solve that. So this is how Luxdates was born. Long story.
Wow, it's very interesting, and actually is a part of a personal story that brought you to create that
Yeah.
and solve a problem that society is having right now.
Yeah.
So one of the things that took my attention is actually how you realize what is this the landscape related with dating that is happening right now. Because since the moment that you create Luxdate until today, how do you think that the landscape have been changing now in our society?
Well, it has certainly changed from the days when I was actively dating. So that was then internet dating had just kind of come up, but a lot of connections were happening through social circles, etc. And what I see now is that internet dating is very dominant, and it's on everybody's minds. And people who are not ready for whatever reason, or not willing to date via the internet, they're kind of lost. And there is there, and we will talk about this, I guess, a little bit later, but there are very high expectations through social media, or through relationships that we see that our friends have or our colleagues have. At the same time, I sense there is fear. There is a fear of making a wrong choice, and I think that is stopping people from connecting. And again, social media kind of amplifies these stories. So whichever echo chamber you are in, you hear stories about horrible divorces, about infidelity, etc., etc. And of course, nobody wants that. So I see that there is a fear of making a wrong choice, and there is this strive for perfection. And a perfect relationship doesn't exist. So it's really very, very individual, and whatever seems perfect from the outside may look different from the inside. But that is something I observe. So a fear of connecting, showing oneself. Especially in Luxembourg, a lot of people come to Luxembourg for work reasons, and it's very much a society that where people want to keep face. And when then people meet, it's kind of, you could hold up two puppets who talk to each other, and they're like each in their role, and there is no connection. And I observe that, and I think it's detrimental to finding a partner.
Well, you mentioned two very key topics here. One of those is expectations, that I will love you
Mm-hmm.
to talk more about that, because I know
Sure.
that in this environment, we are creating our own expectations, and where we are going to find someone, or find someone in the way we have our expectations so high, in the way
Mm-hmm.
that we are really not fitting that.
Yeah.
So then the frustration come as a part of the result of that. So let's talking about expectations in that role. What are the typical expectations that you have been heard based on people's behaviors?
So Mark Manson once said, women date for status and men date for sex. I wouldn't necessarily say that that is true, but status has certainly a lot to do with it. And what I see, especially in women, is that deep down, women are very often looking for somebody that they can look up to in every aspect. So they want somebody who's taller, which is already a challenge in and of itself, and somebody who is in terms of societal standing, professional experience, higher than them. So that is not necessarily it's not necessarily a good basis. It sounds a little bit like the 50s, or it sounds a little bit like what my mother used to say. You need to look up to a man, but it's quite prevalent in society. So status is important for women. Men in general are more visual orientated, although women, I see that also, that they're very critical of looks in men. But men in general, if they have somebody who makes them feel good, then they're usually quite happy and stay in a relationship. And women have this this need for the perfect man.
Yeah, but what about these women that are now already have a high status? I mean, that don't need really to have that men next to them, because the man is doing better than them.
So that is indeed a big topic. So we have women today who, so society has changed fundamentally. So we have women in senior leadership positions. They're earning a lot of cash, etc., and they want somebody who is at their level, or ideally higher. And that aren't just so many people. We're talking about a very small percentage of society, and he has to be good looking, and he has to be taller, and he has to be a personality, etc. Has to have charisma. And there it becomes it becomes really difficult to find somebody, because the men who could be their matches, they are looking for something different. They are not necessarily looking for a woman who, I don't know, is in the ultra high net worth or high net worth pay range. They are looking for somebody who, again, makes them feel good, who is fun, who is not complicated.
Yeah.
So that is where we have very often a big difference in expectations.
Wow, yeah, there is a big gap, because actually it's like the unmatching world, because women are wanting to have the perfect guy, the guys are wanting to have the perfect women, and how that really match. And in your experience, doing that process and trying to fit the expectations of
Yeah.
everyone
Yeah.
probably could be the most challenging things for you. I don't know.
Yeah, it's very challenging, and it's not something that I had anticipated when I started this. So and it's something that is different. It's the same really across the globe. I'm part of a big international social matchmaking community, and it's the same. And what's a pity is a man can be very successful and very driven in what he does, but he, for instance, could be working, I don't know, for a charity. And I remember a guy, he was amazing, really amazing guy, but his passion was saving wild birds, and that he was just didn't have that societal CEO kind of macho thing, but a super guy. And I matched him really quickly. So, because of course, what I have described earlier are, of course, the cases that I see a lot, but there are also individuals who are have a different value system.
Yeah, but now that you mentioned values, it was something that took my attention because actually it's based on values that you build a relationship. It's not just all these expectations that you need to be this status and you need to do specifically these things for me to really like you. So
Yeah.
I don't understand how that is really working, and that's what I am so curious about all these experiences that you have been doing this matchmaking. No.
Yeah, so that I always ask people about their values and their also fundamental beliefs about money, about health, about where they want to be in life. Are they risk averse? Do they like to take risks? So that's something I'm looking at. How have they behaved in the past in their relationships? How do they talk about their ex partners? Is there a lot of anger, or is there a lot of blaming? Um, how important is trust for them? Yeah, again, financial topics are important. So how do people think about money? Lifestyle is an important topic. A lot, especially in Luxembourg, a lot of people like to travel, and I ask them what kind of holidays they go on to, what kind of if they have traveled, which country has inspired them or has changed their lives, and in that way, I get quite a good insight into how people tick and what and what they're looking for. And what's really important for me, and I meet everybody in person, is to feel their energy. And I'm very receptive to that, and I make my matches also based on that. But in reality, I get to know people when I match them and when I put them in front of real people, and then receiving the feedback, they really become three-dimensional, and I see what works and doesn't work.
Wow, this is how that works, how you are connecting all those people. But actually, when those people decide to come to you, the way that they decide or make this decision, because I think that you need to decide, I'm going to go and looking for help to find the love of my life, and
Yeah.
how the people are accessing you with already that decision, but at the same time with this big expectation, because then you become the coach of them. I mean, trying to explain them, well, look, all the things needs to be a balance. So I
Yeah.
think it's a process. How do you normally do this process with the people that come into you?
So I always ask them to tell me. So the reason why people come is they do not like internet dating for whatever reason. The women feel they're on a meat market. Um,
Meat market. Oh my.
yeah, and that's often what it feels for men. by the way, also.
Yeah.
But so people don't want to be in the public eye for whatever reason. They don't like the often shallow experience of internet dating. Some people are in serious positions. They lead big teams, and they don't want to. They don't want their team or the whole company to know that they're looking.
Okay.
I have also people who are in the public eye, and they also don't want people necessarily to know that they're dating or looking for somebody. So these are some of the reasons that people come to me. Another reason is also that the circles become smaller and smaller. The older you get, then people get married, and they also only know married people. And at work, it's always a little bit tricky to start a romance. So they're really running out of ideas on where to meet quality people. So that's another reason. And then when I meet them, I talk to them. I get to know them, and I ask their expectations, and I do a reality check. And when I think that the expectations are not fulfillable, I'm quite open, and I say I think that is not possible. And I'll give you an example. So let's say if a woman in her late 30s comes to me and says, I'm looking for a man, I want to have children. I say, yes, okay, we can do that. And then she says, but the man should not have children. And then I think, okay, that it's really not, almost not possible, because statistically speaking, somebody at that age has had a relationship. Very often they have a child, or then if they haven't been married, then people would say, okay, what's wrong with him that he hasn't
Yeah,
been
this
married?
is a
So
strange, it's
yeah,
something happened there.
yeah, so it's, damn if you do and damn if you don't. So and that is where I say, okay, so how flexible are you on your criteria? So is there room for maneuvering a little bit in terms of age or height or children or whatever? And then I see if there is flexibility, and if there is no flexibility, there is really no point in me taking on the assignment, because something that I have learned in the years that I've been doing this is, for me, the number one indicator for success in finding a new partner is the ability to accept change. That is the number one reason. And if there's no flexibility, and people want it all, it's not going to happen. And I see, so I'm usually quite a bit older than some of the clients that I see, and I kind of see them on a timeline. I see them in their late 20s, when they're still investing in their career, and then in their early 30s, when they still think everything is possible. Then in their late 30s, when it already gets a little bit tricky, but they don't want to revise their criteria or re-examine their criteria a little bit. Then I see them in their early 40s, when it gets really difficult, especially if you want to have children. Mid to late 40s, early 50s.
Wow.
And still they haven't found somebody. And that I think is tragic. And I sympathize, because I used to be that woman. Nobody was good enough.
Yeah, exactly.
And if I hadn't really had a hard look at my values and what is really important, what I need emotionally as a human being, if I hadn't had a hard look at that and re-examined that, I don't think I would have been open to somebody who is now my husband, and whom I'm happily married to for 10 years. So I would like to encourage people to start that transformation process and meet somebody on the basis of values.
Yeah,
And how the person treats them.
Yeah, I think one thing for me have been key in my life, and talking about my personal experience, is more than wanted the perfect person. It's looking into yourself a little bit more and
Yeah.
finding this perfect person on yourself first, in
Yeah.
order for really make match with that person that can come to your life and make your life amazing, and have
Yeah.
a relationship that really matters. And that's have been happening to me, because
Yeah.
just in the moment that I started to see an introspection and seeing
Yeah.
myself and adding value and learning how to live with myself and give this, not always being with a couple, with a partner, that being there because I don't want to stay alone, and that
Yeah.
happening to a lot of people that are just thinking, I don't want to stay alone, so I am bringing one person, another, and then you are not really fixing yourself in order
Yeah.
to offer something that really will end up being love of yourself first, and
Yeah.
then you will be, people will be in love of you. I'm talking
Yeah.
about my personal experience.
Yeah.
I am happily now with someone
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
giving me a lot of happiness, value, many things,
Yeah.
complimenting me, supporting me, and that
Yeah.
have been arriving just because of that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
well, you was telling us the process and all the process that you do to make the match, but what happened after? What happened when you really have a couple that is going to dating? How many opportunities of dating? How many options do you show? How that works?
So I commit myself to making 3 introductions, and that's the minimum. And like every agency, and I'm not breaking an industry secret here, but I have more women than men, and that simply means men have more date options. And so depending on the gender, and depending on also the age group, some age groups are easier than others, then I create matches. And my goal is to bring people really together, and give them the opportunity to have to meet with a person of the other sex, because a lot of people haven't had dates in ages, and they don't know how to date. And that's something that I see when I bring people together. um, the communication can be tricky. And there are different communication patterns in the different genders. So again, generally speaking, men tend to be a little bit more on the quiet side, and they don't ask questions. That's the number one feedback I get from women, that he didn't ask me any questions. He was a ZQ. ZQ stands for 0 questions.
Wow.
And then I talked to the man. I said, "Listen, we talked about this. Why didn't you ask any questions?" And he goes, "I didn't want to be intrusive." And that, I think, is an important piece of information. So a lot of men don't ask questions, not because they're not interested. This is how it comes across, but they don't want to be intrusive. And because of all the influences that we have had, the whole Me Too movement, where men think, okay, if I hold the door, what will her reaction be? Will she say thank you, or will she slap me? So what is acceptable? Who pays? How do I hold the door open? Do I how do I, which topics do I talk about? What is permissible? What is not permissible? And we also live in times where people are very sensitive. And somebody says something wrong on the first date, and it's like over.
Wow,
Come
yeah, the
on, come
tolerance and
on.
the yeah, it's
Yeah,
not natural. No, it's not very natural. I don't know
yeah,
how to say that, but for me, I don't feel it that very natural when you know that you are going on a in a process, no? Because that you can sit with a person that start to do some questions, and then you can say, "Well, I am in a working interview."
yeah.
So,
That's a big mistake that women make. They often
mm,
come with the list, and women. I I have a lot of empathy for women, and I know why they do this. They're like, "Oh, I'm so afraid. I'm so afraid." And they
oh,
hear all these stories, or they had horrible stories, and they say, okay, the man has to meet these criteria, and they ask, okay, so how much do you make, and what went wrong with your ex, and what's the relationship with your parents, and the men, again, that is feedback I get from the men. They're like, oh man, was it
I
the
think that
Spanish
yeah,
Inquisition or something? So it's just the ability to just have a conversation and just talk and get to know each other, on not on a professional level, but on a personal level. And I've had situations where the head of HR was kind of interviewing the CFO, and that's not how it should be. It's two people who are in the same situation. They're both looking for somebody, and it's hard to help them to. It's hard for them to be vulnerable and show their insecurities and show their imperfections, and that is where I also guide people. There's some fun questions that you can ask that make it a little bit easier, some icebreakers, and that hopefully guarantees that dating becomes a little bit easier. But it's also something where it's something that can be learned, and people just need to practice a little bit
yeah.
more. And that's something where I feel I have singles who are very comfortable in their circle of friends, and they're loved and everything, but they find it difficult to talk to people who are not in that circle of friends.
Yeah, changing that mindset and be
Yeah,
more open about what is happening around us
yeah,
and knowing different kind of people, because when we are wanting this perfect person next to us, we are doing this idealization about that person that probably will never come, because actually is a lot of things we have been hurt in the past, that probably are opening big wounds that we need to healing first in order to
yeah,
really have the
yeah,
opportunity to get into another relationship. And when we
yeah,
arrive to another relationship, actually, and we have been not having the opportunity to heal those wounds,
yeah.
there the problem is coming, because all situations are going to trigger on us that point. So for me
Absolutely.
it's very tricky, and I think it's part of the learnings that the people can take away from this now, is
Yeah,
how you really see into yourself and try to heal your wounds first, in order to don't make the things that are going to happen in the next relationship are going to trigger that on you, and you are going to fail in this, fail in that. And that's why probably we all end up with this fear, no? I know I'm
mm,
afraid about this, I'm afraid about to
mm.
knowing someone, and what happened if I don't like it. But my question there is, how many dates, I mean, if I met
Hmm.
someone, how many times I'm going with the
Ah,
same people out?
yeah. So it's hard to give a specific number. I know couples that have had sex on their first date, and the relationship lasted. Is that something I would recommend? No, because because of hormonal changes, and so I wouldn't advise to have sex on the first date. Having said that, I think people should, and my recommendation is, people should at least meet twice or three times. And if they liked each other, they only have to like each other
Yeah.
on the first date. And that I think is great to say, okay, I want to meet that person again. I'm interested in knowing more about this person. So 2, 3, 4 times, I would say one should give it a go. And then if after 4 dates or 5, you say, no, really, I don't feel the connection, then yes, I would say that's fine. You've given it your best shot. You've gotten to know the person, and you make the decision for or against the person based on the right reasons. What I do see a lot is people give up after the first date, and I say, okay, what happened? What went wrong? And just recently, somebody said, we had a great time. We were talking for hours, and they had to kick us out of the restaurant. And so what happened? Yeah, I don't know. And then, well, I don't know either. But and that is then where I help reconnecting. But there's also all these false information. So after a date, who calls first? Is it the man? Is it the woman? When do people call? Is it after an hour? Is it after 3 days? And so how will I be seen if I say too soon that I'm interested? And that is just wrong. It's just wrong. This is not about playing games. So if after the first date, and this happens, shitty dates do happen, and you think it's not going to work, then you could say, look, I really enjoyed the time with you. I just don't think we will be a couple, and people understand and they accept that. It's not like they're jumping from the next bridge. But this not being accountable, or not saying, okay, not closing the topic, is something that I see a lot. And if you like somebody, say it. What could be, and if the person then takes this as a reason to say, well, we have a little bit of a power game going on here, and you just weakened your position by saying that you like me. Well, then it's the wrong person. But so my advice is always call the person. If you like them, say you would like to see them again, and then don't play games.
Yeah, I don't know if you have like a part of a policies of your company that is when you introduce someone, that person needs to try, and then if that don't works, you are going to introduce someone else, or this person say, no, I wanted to meet 3 people at the same time. This is part of how that works. So I don't know.
No. So the policy is really one after the other, and that is how it has been successful. In the beginning, when I started, I didn't have this policy, and I remember once introducing 2 women to a guy, and he was completely like, oh my God, I can't take that. What happens sometimes, it happened once actually, was that I made an introduction, and there was a no, and I made the next introduction, and they kind of got together, and then but separated again, and then the person went back to the first date.
Okay.
and then they got together. So but generally it's one after the other.
It's one after the other. Yeah. Okay. And how do you feel attracted to the person in the first stage? Because when you go and have the process, knowing that you are accessing a professional like your company, and say, well, I like this, I like that, I like that. How do you normally do that match for make that people feel really attracted to the other?
That is something I can't influence. And I'm very honest. I'm trying to get a sense. And this is what would when I collaborate with other matchmakers and we go, no, I think he wouldn't like that, or she wouldn't like that, or so we kind of know. But attraction depends on so many factors. Smell, for instance. It's
Wow.
not something I can predict. So smell plays a big part in our attraction to another person. And to make it even more complicated for women, we smell differently when we ovulate. So
Yeah, this kind of thing.
I would have to be the master planner to say, okay, when do you have your period? It's a good time to go on a date.
Wow. Yeah. This kind of
But
thing.
so these are elements that I can't influence. But in general, when I feel the same energy from people, and I think that would be a good match, and I think you should meet, then it's quite possible that I make the introduction, even though that person may not meet the criteria that the other person has. I'm going to say, just go. And I don't count the date. If you don't like it, it's okay. But I think you should go. So
Yeah.
I do have a matchmaker's hunch, and a lot of my colleagues have that. We have that intuition, and also a lot of people I talk to have that also, who are in different in different professions. So a lot of people have that hunch. Then I look at introversion versus extroversion. So I wouldn't match somebody who is very extrovert and gets his energy from people with somebody who needs to recharge his or her batteries when he had contact with a lot of people. So an introvert. So I look at that, how people, what kind of
Much.
energy, introversion, extroversion. So these are really my main criteria. Then again, the values, the energy, the expectation. Where do they want to be in life, and what kind of life have they had? So there is no point in introducing somebody who has had, let's say, a very stable career in the Luxembourgish government to somebody who is a serial entrepreneur, because they will not. They don't have the same life values and the same energy.
Yeah, well, I think, Claudia, you have a lot of advice to deliver, and actually, you wrote a book with mostly some of those advice. And well, you have it there. I'm
I
happy
do.
that you wrote that. It is 24 ways. Yeah,
Yes,
if you want to
to
talk a
meet you.
little bit about the book, where the people can find that, how they can use it,
Sure.
etc.
Yeah. So it's called 24 Ways to Meet to Meet Your New Girlfriend. And it's a dating guide for men to meet
Oh, wow.
women without the internet. That's the main point. And really what has motivated me to write that book is that I of course see a lot of women, but I also see men at having it more difficult than women. And women think the other way around. Women think, oh, it's so easy for men to meet somebody. It's actually not true, because women, we have this community, we talk, and we're a little bit different. And men usually suffer alone, and they have nobody to help them. So in this book, I look at several myths of so wrong assumptions that men have about dating. For instance, that they have to do it alone, and that you can only meet women online, etc. And then I talk to them about the fear of failure, which is 60%. There was a recent survey. 60% of men are afraid of talking to women because they are worried that they either seem creepy, or they will get a rejection, or they will be ridiculed. And I try to I look at athletes, how they train. I give examples. I also give an example about rejection-proof experiment that a gentleman called Jia Zhang did. And I want to encourage them to see this more as a training and to train themselves how to become the pro that they should be when they're dating. And a lot of men think, oh, I need to be Mr. Smooth operator. And it's actually not true. And or I need to have this witty, I need to be super witty. Now, again, it's not true. Just be yourself and be honest. So that's in the book. And then I give 24 examples of meeting women in real life, and that really starts. Step one is changing your habits. So the focus is always on change. Take a different way to work, connect with people, make eye contact, and really really make it a training situation. So start with people where it doesn't necessarily count, but make the contact and work your way up to working up the courage to talk to a woman that you're really attracted to, because people are out there. That is the reality. The people, when we walk through the city, we can connect with real people who are possibly looking for a partner.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Well, Claudia, I think this is a topic that we can be talking for hours and hours and hours, because it's very interesting. It's a reality. Actually, we need to learn many things still to really become a better human beings and have opportunity to connect with another human beings in the best way possible. And removing all these things that are not allowing us to get that done, and feeling this peace of mind. Because when you have a nice couple and you have a person next to you that is supporting you, this is a lot of peace of mind that giving you the opportunity to do many other things in life. So I encouraging all the women or men that are listening now, or all genders actually, that wanted to looking for a partner, that contacting you, or they can contact you.
They can contact me through my website, www.luxdates.lu, or send an email to info@luxdates, or give me a call. And that is then I usually set up a call with them, an introductory call, and then we set up a face-to-face meeting, and then we start working together. So it's relatively easy.
Well, fantastic, Claudia. I have to say thank you very much for sharing your knowledge, your experience, and all this, of course, your personal story as well, that give a lot of value to all these people that can learn from your experience, from my experience as well. And I'm so happy that you have been here adding value to the Brilliantly Branded community in general. Thank you very much, Claudia, for being here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for allowing me to share the story.
Yeah,
thank you.
For sure. We hope you have been inspired by this content and join us for future episodes of the Brilliantly Branded podcast. We will continue exploring the power of branding and the stories behind successful brands. And remember, if you know a woman who has built a successful brand with a unique approach and a story to share, please refer them to our podcast. We would love to learn from their experiences and share their story with our listeners. Stay tuned for most episodes of Brilliantly Branded, and don't forget to follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, on our YouTube channel for more branding insights and women empowerment. Until the next episode, ciao ciao.